Hey guys, welcome to Moving On TV. And as you can see, I've got a beautiful background. I don't know, I can't do it on Restream, but I can do it on Zoom. So that way you don't have to look at the bathroom all the time, but I'm not sure how to do it on Restream. And anyway, welcome to Moving On TV. This is your TV station, the TV station that gives you hope and glory and truth on BitChute. Join us. Send us your stories. Send us anything that you want us to put out there to keep the vibration high and come and do your show with us. Take care. Lots of love. My name is Lauren Hope Glory, the proud CEO of Moving On TV. Have a beautiful day. Bye.
Hey guys, welcome to Moving On TV and the festive season. I hope you're all feeling well. We're just about to go live now on. He's there. There he is. I can see him in the box. He's sitting in that little box over there. And we're just about to go live on HAP. So, welcome anyone who joins us. Thank you. Welcome to Moving On TV, guys. Right. Welcome to Staysane Daily. And today is day 80. Is it day 80? My God. I think it's day 80. You know what? I'm not sure. Let me check Instagram very quickly. It was either 79 or 80. Let me just check it. I'll tell you in a minute. Well, weird things are going on with Moving On TV. I don't want to go into it too much, but you do know what we've been going through. 79 was yesterday, and is who am I? So today is 80. Yeah. Weird stuff has been going on with Moving On TV. And, as I said, they picked on spirits, so they don't know what hit them. So I'm bringing on one of the lightest spirits that I know in order to enhance the light even more. And he heard me yesterday, and all the panic, and oh my God, there was so much bullying and trolling yesterday. Everything came to a head. And I did check out this IP2 thing, and they're in for it. They messed with spirit, and that's where the buck ends. And so I'm in touch with community groups now. And we're going to see what we can do in order to stop them coming anywhere near us anymore. So, but the spirit of love is here. And as I say, one of the highest, biggest, most shining stars that I know is, of course, our Emanuel. And I'm going to bring him on in a minute. But before that, I just want to say a few words about Staysane Daily 80. So as you see, I've bounced back, and that's what we have to do. But today is about trust. It's about trust. And I know it's very, very difficult to have trust, especially if you've gone through so much in life. Yeah. And God knows we go through a lot in life. He's getting this cold. Why is that? I could see him there. It's quite funny. Trust, building trust, and regardless of what you've been through in life, guys, regardless of the pain, suffering, regardless of the bullying, the intense bullying that we've been going through here on Moving On TV, and me and my own personal life, you have to trust. And when you trust, you build up. Something in me just knew that I was going to be okay. And I woke up this morning, I had really bad panic, and I couldn't face anything. And then Martin came around, thank God, because we're friends, and it was amazing. And he said, just take my hand. Just take my hand, hold my hand. That's it. Just hold my hand, Lauren. And then I said, I've got an interview with Emanuel at 3:15. I've got to face it. I've got to come on to Moving On TV. I'm made from sterner stuff. I'm made from my dad's spirit. Yeah, I'm not giving in to this. And that was it. And a couple of things happened, which proved to me that there is synchronicity, and everything is happening for a reason, and everything is divine. And I kind of calmed down inside, and I knew that I'm being taken care of, and my journey is the right journey. And that was it. Had a long conversation to Martin, made myself a cup of chamomile, fed the cats, and I'm here. And that's it. And as I said to you, I was lucky because Martin came over today, but I knew that I wasn't going to let Manuel down again. And I also knew that someone who reached out to me, I was going to help them. I wasn't not going to help them. And that really, really helped me. Okay. Right. Let's block these people, because let me tell you very quickly, I've been doing my research about this chicken Andy. Guys, IP2, we need to get them off the internet because they are very, very sick. And there is no way that I'm talking to them. My gorgeous Cara, my guardian angel, came through to me yesterday and told me, do not talk to them anymore. They will probably ring. Ignore them completely. Do not talk to them. Have nothing to do with them. Nothing. Right? So you go on quickly, you wipe them off YouTube, because if I don't have anyone to moderate, I don't have any choice but to do the moderation myself at the moment. But everything fell into place for me last night. All my questions got answered. Okay, I know exactly what's going on now. Somebody has contacted me, said Rick Productions want to sort this out. Rick is not, because he's not a troll. As I say, I'm not going to have anything to do with that company ever again. That is not going to happen. Okay. So Cara told me not to talk to them. And as far as I'm concerned, she knows better. So she's like a guardian angel now. Sometimes I can be very innocent and very vulnerable. And that's okay, guys. And I have serious post-traumatic stress disorder, and I will not let anyone drag me down to the fear and panic I had yesterday. So I don't want them to come on anymore. I don't want anything to do with them anymore. Unless there's a go-between, I will not talk to this company. I will have nothing to do with this IP2 thing, which they're all involved in, because it's a problem, because they're not aware of the fact that they don't have any morals. Moving On TV is not going to have anything to do with it. I'm going to trust what Cara told me to do and have nothing to do with it, because I know how scared I was and how unhappy I was. Not scared, I'm not scared of them, but how unhappy I was yesterday. My job is to stay sane. That's it. To follow my divine feminine journey and to stay sane. And that's what I'm doing. So I'm going to bring on Emanuel, and we're going to talk about his film, What Matters, What Really Matters. I actually watched it. He sent it to me. And we're going to talk a little bit about the background of the character. And it's so synchronistic. Oh my God, I'm bringing him on now. Hey, Emanuel, this is synchronicity. You know what? The word synchronicity is like, it's completely taken over my life here. Where are you? There you are. Hi.
Hello, thanks so much.
Thank you for being there for me yesterday with my panic and everything. But I want to talk about synchronicity before your film. And the synchronicity is pure. I'm watching life and I'm watching things happen, and I can see the divine opening. I can see everything is happening just the way it's meant to be in my life, in everyone's life. I've had so much proof, which I can't go into, but
Mhm.
a lot of proof of synchronicity and how it's just, it shows you that you're on the right path. It shows you. But the crazy synchronicity about what I'm going to say here, it's like boom, boom, doo, 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 this huge, beautiful synchronicity. Is yesterday, the young guy, he calls himself Chicken Andy, who contacted me and wanted to work with me. Here is the synchronicity, right? He kept saying to me, Lauren, you've only got 2 viewers. I've got 10,000 viewers, right? And when I saw your film, I'm gonna get there. I'm gonna get there. You know where I'm going with the character. He did everything for fame and fortune. He gave up his values, yada yada. He needed the vote, so he dropped his belief system and his practice in order to keep his votes, in order to keep his likes. Yeah, it's all happened with this young guy to the point where I went on, and do you know what he did? This is what young people will do when they don't have a connection to God and they don't know the difference between they all they want is fame. All they want is the numbers. He faked a suicide attempt on his site. Can you believe it? Now, this is how far people will go in order to get views. So when I saw that, it's called IP2, they have to be removed.
Mhm.
I can't believe that they're still on the internet. He faked a suicide attempt to get viewers. Somebody else pretended to have serious cancer, that they were dying of cancer to get viewers. Now, Manuel, I watched your film, sweetheart, and Daniel, he was going down that road. He went down that road. He went down that road. You know, the best, my favorite scene was the modeling. Who are you? You do like that was brilliant. You know, it's a really good film. And I also, because I know your acting skills, I know why you did it so low key, the way you played him until that pinnacle moment where you jump out in total panic. You were
Mm.
so cool. And, you know, because I've directed you and I know, I've seen the energy, but you played Daniel very low key, very, very low on energy, except when he was in his truth. That's the only time he smiled. That's the only time he was in his energy, is when he was in his truth. And then the only other time was when he was doing his modeling, because he was still quite innocent, you know, and I could see that he didn't realize what he was getting into. You know me, I analyze everything when it comes to this. I'm allowed to.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you and this young guy who calls himself Chicken Andy, who really thought that moving on TV was going to work with him, he really wanted me to get on board. He rang me. We did the whole conversation on here. He doesn't know that we are different. We don't need the views. We need the quality views. I don't just want views. I want quality views. I want the angels on here. You know, I started to get lots of views when I started to put on here. And let me put it on here again. How many are on here today? Let's put I don't know, 7, 7, 7, 7, 7, 7, 7, 11, 11, 11, 11, 11, 11, 11 angels are on moving on TV today. And the more I did that, watching and blessing us and protecting us, the more I did that, the more I started to get views. Isn't that interesting? Because the angels are here, they're watching. But the synchronicity, and that's what we're going to let you talk about this in a minute, is Chicken Andy came on, and he was he was Daniel that gave up everything for fame and fortune and likes. Do you see that synchronicity? And you didn't, again, this is so, it's like I can't, I do, I've seen a lot of synchronicity in my life for big things, but in the last couple of months, I've seen synchronicity work in the most magical ways. And yesterday, I confirmed them all. But the really interesting thing is, you didn't come on the day we planned the interview. That was before the bullying, before Andy contacted me. So the synchronicity wouldn't have been there, would it? So you came on today. You knew that you weren't going to come on. I said to you, I can't do the interview, and then I tried to get you back on, but you knew in your heart, because you're connected to God, you're connected to love, you're connected to the light. So you knew, Lauren, I'm not going to come on today. Can we go tomorrow? Now I had to go through that synchronicity with Chicken Andy to understand how to connect your film and Daniel with these young people out there that all they think is important is fame and fortune and money, and you don't. Right. So let's talk a little bit about Daniel. Okay. So let's go back to the beginning and explain a little bit to me. So it starts off where he is so obsessed with his phone, right? He's in there and he needs a battery to charge his phone. And this film is called What Matters, What Really Matters, yeah? This is Emanuel's film, and you ought to watch it, especially if you're young and you think that likes is the most important thing, not your friends, not your happiness, not your connection to something we call God. And let's leave religion out of this because I know it'll scare you away and you won't want to watch. I'm saying that to the people that might be watching that may be going down the wrong path. Yeah. I'm just saying that you need to have a connection and something that will take you on the right path, which is love, where you don't go around hurting people and doing racist stuff and stuff like that. You know, there's a difference between, maybe you came to Moving On TV to see the contrast of what we do and what you do. So I'm not fighting you, except I'm going to stop what you're doing to me for obvious reasons. You're not going to do this anymore. I'm prepared to put myself on the line, though, Emmanuel, for the good of humanity. That's how I do it. Yeah. That's what Moving On TV is. We carry it. Yeah. If we have to. But what I'm saying is, okay, so it started out, you are this young man or these young people that they can't live without their phone. Their phone is everything to them. And the battery goes, and there you are sitting about to have a sermon. Okay. So explain to me, why does everybody disappear? Everyone disappears. Okay, so again, I watched it and everything is there. I'm like a sponge. Okay, I can tell you the whole movie probably more or less. The way you never turned up at your cousin's birthday, everything went out the window. It was like, nah, I don't want this. I'm too obsessed now with fame and fortune. So my family don't matter. My lovely cousin, she was counting on you going to her birthday. So everything went out the window because love wasn't there anymore. So anyway, so it starts with you sitting in the church and you're going to have this sermon. And then you, oh my God, where's my battery? My phone's dying in the middle. Like you didn't turn your phone off. So, okay, so let me put it this way. You already had the tendencies. You were ready to be plucked like the rest of us before we go through our awakening. You were ready. You were the Emmanuel before Vlad put you on the right direction, right path. Yeah. You were ready to be plucked and put in front of what we'll call the devil, something that was going to drag you into the darkness in order for you to come through the darkness in order for you to become whatever it is you were meant to become. Yeah, is that right? But why does everyone disappear? So do you want to go from that and just explain to me? So you go out to your car to get your battery charger. Okay, it's like you jump timelines or something. You come back and everyone's gone. The guy in the shop has disappeared. Everyone has disappeared, and suddenly it's like we're in a different time. Was that a flashback? Anyway, I'm going to leave it to you to explain because I'm going to.
Thank you so much for that opportunity. And yeah, so that, first of all, it's lovely to be here with you today. Thank you for bringing me on again, Lauren. You're so good at interviewing people, like you said, analyzing. You went in such great depth and detail, and it's so enjoyable to see. So in terms of what that was, the disappearing of people, that was simply the replicating of something the Bible talks about, which is called the rapture of the church. And when it says the church, it doesn't mean building, it means the people who are believers. It's talking about how in the last days, people believe that we're living in the last days, that there's not much time left before, let's say, Christ returns. And that was simply the rapture of believers. Yeah, the Bible talks about that. Uh, Jesus is in the twinkling of an eye, in the blink of an eye, just like that. They'll be raptured, meaning caught up into the air, into heaven, before Christ comes back 7 years later. So that was what happened. It was a replica of what the Bible talks about, calling in the catching away of believers living for Christ, you know. And Daniel was left behind. You see, he was left behind, and that's what the therapist was for. She was questioning him, as you saw in the scenes, with things like, "So why are we here? Like, why were you left behind? You thought you were meant to go. You thought you were going to rapture, but you were left behind. Why? It's because you weren't living the right way. You weren't living as someone who was supposed to be caught up. You got distracted. You got entangled with things of this world, you know. In the journey of a believer, of a Christian. This is just interesting, even if you're not Christian. The Bible talks about.
Sorry, can I come back to you about that one? You know, I always come back to this point because
Yeah.
what I'm hoping is that we've got a lot of young people that don't believe on here.
Mhm.
And also a lot of people like myself that, you know, I believe in connecting us all, and I believe in Buddhism and in Jesus and Buddhists and in everything, as I believe in love, in unconditional love. So when you talk about the rapture, I get it. I get it, but without the religious connotations, yeah. And I can see that as you have to go through the fire and the pain and the suffering in order to come through, yeah. So if there's someone watching here and it's like, oh, I'm going to turn it off now, it's all going to be about Christianity. I want to say to them, no, you all have your unique personal journey. And if you watch this film, particularly Chicken Andy, go and watch it. It might. Can you imagine if he turned to God, to the light? And I'm not asking you to become a Christian or a Muslim or a Jew or a Buddhist. I'm asking you to become a good man. That's it. And to put on videos to enhance humanity, Andy, not to drag people down. You don't have to fake suicide in order to get people to care about you, to like you, or to give. It doesn't matter. You're not going to get happiness, because that's what Emmanuel is here to tell you in this film. You will not get happiness by being famous. You'll get another car maybe, or a pretty girl on your arm, but you will not get inner peace. You'll want more and more. What celebrity do you know that's happy? I mean, Robbie Williams, throw the names out. Drugs, drinking, they finish their show and they're miserable because they don't have that light. So all we're saying to you here, if you're watching, is you have to find that light. And all it is kindness to you, kindness to me, to Moving on TV, to us. Kindness. That's it. It doesn't matter whether you get likes or not. You will get likes from the right people. And when you're ready, I know when you're very young, you're probably the same age as Emmanuel, but he's happy and he's at peace. And you're not, because if you were, you couldn't do these things. So that's all I'm saying. The reason I butted in there is because I want you, if someone is watching here, to understand It's self-love and love of humanity. That's it. You can call it, again, I know Emmanuel will disagree, but to me, you can call it Jehovah. And I'm not supposed to say that. I'll get stoned, like in Monty Python. They threw stones on you if you said the name of God in vain, right? So Jesus, Buddha, it doesn't matter. It's about love. But the film that Emmanuel has done, and I recommend you watch it. If you watch anything, watch the progression of Daniel's life. Watch how he went and where he didn't care about anything except likes and how people felt about him. And obviously, if you put something on where you fake a suicide, who is going to watch that except people that are going to be dragging you down further and further into something, into a bigger hole? You've got to understand that doesn't enhance your life or anybody's life. That will just drag you down. So anyway, I've got to go back to Emmanuel, but I'm just trying to keep that avenue, that door open, that we are not pushing you to believe in Jesus or Muhammad or Buddha or anyone. We're just asking you to be a good person. Isn't that true? So let me put you back. And I'm not saying that Daniel was a bad person. He was just confused, and he was taken because he was ripe. He's good looking. He it's like something new, right? That's it. We've got you now. And they didn't care about Daniel at all. You could see they didn't. You were just nothing. You were just, oh, he'll do. He's nice looking. Yeah. He'll do today. We'll take him. Sorry. I'm so inspired because of the bullying and because of your film and how the synchronicity is matching here. So beautiful. And when I get inspired, I do go into a lot of talking. Okay, so
No, it's wonderful, you know. Yeah, so you know, that's one thing I would say is I understand. I mean, I'm sure we all understand why some people don't necessarily see the purpose of life as being morally good, let's say. They don't focus on that as their goal, or prioritize it, you know. Reason being is because um, why should they do that? You know, that I'm not saying they shouldn't, they should, but I'm saying they don't know or see a reason why they should be a good person, let's say. They don't see a reason. Like, what benefit do they derive from being a good person just on its own? You know, it's no benefit because life is seriously unfair. Life for many people is in unjust, unfair suffering. You know, so people then say, why should I aspire to be this person when I would have to sacrifice so much? Like, it's sacrifice to be honest, to be fair, to be just, to refuse to be bitter and resentful despite things happening. It's sacrifice. It's sacrifice to be selfless. To love is sacrifice. It's all so people then say, why should I sacrifice so much, put in so much effort to be this person when I can just be selfish and use, let's say, immoral ways for personal gain? You know, that seems like a better thing. But in reality, and this is my opinion, in reality, that is where objective truth comes in. When you know you are accountable to someone, you know that what you do matters and who you are matters. When there's no one to be accountable to, you can be anyone, you can do anything, and it does not matter. So that's what I believe is the core. But, you know, that's why I believe we can understand where such people come from, because it's an easy trap to fall into, which is, why should I be like this? Why should I aspire to do this? That's why the film is called What Really Matters. Because what really matters? Why do some things matter and others don't? Is because there must be someone or something to say which matters and which doesn't, you see. So it all comes down to that driving core conviction. People live without conviction these days. That's why they have no values, because there's no values, no conviction, no principles. And why should there be if there is no one to be accountable to? Of course, it's easy then, you know. So I just wanted to share my heart and thoughts on that. Maybe Lauren, we can see what you think on it as well.
Well, we all fall into the same trap, Emmanuel. Yesterday, one of the reasons I was so unhappy was because I was getting all these views, and suddenly I wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
It was like, oh, you're kidding me? I'm on my way and I'm getting all these views and I'm starting to grow, and then you take it away from me. So I do the same. We all do the same, you know, and then you have to, you know, realize my lessons. And it's what's really interesting as well is this guy, and he's getting a lot of free publicity here, but for the right reasons. Chicken Andy, who calls himself, he said, can you give me a shout out? He's going to be really happy about that because I'm telling people what he's doing, but he doesn't seem to understand that I'm not doing this in order to glorify what he's doing. I'm doing it because I'm putting a challenge out there to him to say, what would happen if you did something actually nice? You see, what's worrying me here, Manuel, is I don't think he knows the difference. I think that people have got to such a level where they've been so conditioned. I know the difference. I know that I wouldn't do anything with moving on TV. People have said to me, well, go on mainstream, you know, get yourself out there on mainstream, and get a sponsor, and, you know, and I said, no way. I don't want anything to do with that. This is moving on TV. This is from love. This is from God. This has nothing to do with mainstream. I'm not taking on anybody who's going to give me loads of money. Even if someone offered me loads of money and said, there you go, Lauren, I tell them where they could shove it. But why am I like that? Why am I like that? Maybe a few years back, I would have done that. Maybe 20 years ago, maybe when I was 19 or 20, I would have said, yeah, okay, I'll take the money. Because I thought differently, because I didn't have spirituality, because I was angry, because no one took care of me and no one did this for me, and I had an unhappy childhood and yada yada. So yeah, give me. I need compensation here for the bad stuff. But when I realized that the bad stuff wasn't actually the bad stuff, it was actually lessons to teach me how to progress in life, to teach me how to get happy. That's when it all shifted for me. So the biggest shifts that started happening is when I picked up a book called A Course in Miracles, which is the teachings of Jesus. And it's all about love versus ego. And it's beautiful. And the minute I picked that up and it said to me, nothing exists except love. Nothing. It was like, oh my God, I love this. You're telling me that I can have a religion called love? Yeah. You can have a religion called love. Nothing exists. It can't. And nothing can exist except the light, because the minute you walk into a dark room and you shine a torch, there's the light. And so A Course in Miracles was the beginning of my direction. Someone called Wayne Dyer, he used to say, I can choose peace rather than this. I'll never forget it. We're going back like 10 years now when I picked up, no, more than that. I was in Australia when I found A Course in Miracles. I thought it was magic because it said A Course in Miracles. I thought it was magic. And of course, I was this young 20-year-old. I was like, oh, yeah, I could do magic, you know, fun. It wasn't. It was this ancient book that I found. Everything happens for a reason. I found it in a hostel in Sydney in Australia. This ancient book, like really old. And I opened it and I started looking into it. And all it said to me is, when you take something like, I can choose peace rather than this, And Wayne Dyer went over and over and over it. You say that all through the day. I used to write it on pieces of paper and I'd take it everywhere. My whole day went differently. And because I love steps, and then I got into the 12 steps, which is people that give up alcohol with me was food. I had a food disorder and I had a serious codependency. So bit by bit, I started to understand about God, higher power, without needing to be religious. A lot of people ran a mile when you mentioned religion. So Course in Miracles and the 12 steps, where I'm totally powerless. I wouldn't be here now. And then, of course, I had my massive awakening when they diagnosed me, when I lost, before I lost dad. And then I went into the therapeutic community and I was brought to my knees with tough love. And one day I woke up and I realized that my childhood wasn't my fault. Went out the window, massive spiritual awakening. Started to be able to work with people, run Moving on Theatre, yada, yada, yada. But I had to go through all these stages like you. You have to go. I never went as far down as I could have. Never.
Mm-hmm.
Never. I mean, I turned my back on the entertainment industry in Israel because my gut said to me, I was 17 years old, Dad, I don't like this. So already I knew. And then I never got any work after that. I didn't even get into an army group after that. They had their stamp on me, so to speak. But what I'm saying is you have to get to such a level. I think the way people wake up, Manuel, is the way Daniel woke up eventually, when he literally woke up and screaming, I can't do this anymore. I'm on my knees. I don't know how to do this. And again, yesterday I had another spiritual awakening, obviously, when I was crying on the phone and you were trying to listen to me in panic. And you have to go through it. And the only way that these young people will get it is when they understand that the pain is strong enough. And Tony Robbins says this: when your pain, it's like the lion with the thorn in their paw, and they cope with it. And when the pain gets too strong, it's like, pull it out. I can't do this anymore. I am on my knees saying no, I can't do it. And that's how I was yesterday. And the awakenings, oh my God, so much has happened. I can't talk about any of it, but so many answers. I got all my answers last night. And again, I can't talk about it. But I got all my answers to what's been going on with me all year. I got total confirmations that I needed. Everything calmed down in certain ways. But that's what I think. You see, you have to go through the intense pain. So the world is now full of pain. And maybe these young people are going to literally have to go through whatever they're going to have to go through. Like Daniel got to a level where he was walking around the streets and he was completely lost. It was like falling down, and it was like he was what we would call mentally ill, which I don't believe in. It was just he couldn't take anymore. He was having a breakdown, a massive breakdown. I'll talk a little bit about that. I'll go quiet now because this is incredible, the synchronicity and everything that you project on here, and you always bring such a light and such, considering your age and your wisdom. But tell me a little bit about that scene where he's walking around and he's like completely, he's got his beautiful suit on, he's got the money, he's got the car, he's got the fame, he's got everything. But his friends are saying to him, where have you gone? You know, what's happened to you? And it's like, okay, talk about that scene and then talk about the awakening, which is obviously, you know, the big scene where he wakes up in the middle of the night and that's it. It's like, boom. And the contrast of everything, because as I said, the way you were acting, like, that's how you were at the therapist. Yeah, can't be bothered, yeah, whatever. It's like you were completely brainwashed by them, whatever. And then that massive awakening when you go, ah! It's like, what happened? What happened to you that night as well? Can you tell us, what was that? Okay, so first of all, I want you to talk about the point where the thorn got too painful in the fall with the lion. Okay, the thorn is too painful now. You're walking around the streets. We've all been there. I got thrown in jail once because I had a panic attack on the streets before I had my awakening, because they didn't understand what a panic attack was. We've all been there. You know, I literally threw me in the cell because I couldn't cope. We've all been there. Now, again, I'm not going to go into that, but that's the pinnacle. That's when you're like, you're on the floor. And as I say, I did that for 6 months in the therapeutic community before I had my awakening, cried for 6 months because I didn't understand why my life was so bad and why everything was going wrong. So I want you to talk about, first of all, the thorn in the paw. And then you pulled it out that night when you jumped up in the middle of, boom, what happened to you? What was that moment? Because for me, it was realizing that I wasn't to blame for my childhood abuse because I was a child. I had that awakening and never went back to being sick after that. Yeah, I have breakdowns, but everybody who knows me knows the difference and can see how different I was after that experience. So that was my massive awakening. The guilt went. Okay, so I'm going to go now. I want you to, first of all, thorn in the paw. So Daniel walking around half, can't see anything, completely blinded, falling all over the place in his beautiful suit. Was he drunk? So anyway,
No.
talk a little bit about that, okay? Talk a little. And then you wake up in the middle of the night. Okay?
So
Sorry, just one thing. I had my awakening the same way. I woke up in the middle of the night and I screamed and I grabbed hold of Martin's hand and said, "Don't let me go back." This was 10 years ago now, 2011, 10 years ago, 11 years ago even. I held his hand and I said, "Don't let me go back." And that was where the little child knew, oh my God, I told mum and dad not to send me back to the dentist that was abusing me. That was it. It went. So it was in the middle of the night, a night terror. So that was the same, similar to what happened. So let's go. I have to find the connections here because you've got people watching this that have mental health issues and they have to understand that it's not their fault, especially children. A child, these people that are going out and hurting themselves and others are likely to be children that were hurt. Okay, so I'm going to.
Well, so first of all, that scene where Daniel finishes, his therapy session, he walks out, and at that point, the story is that the therapist helped him realize that he was at fault for missing the rapture. Throughout the therapy session, as you watch, Daniel tries to put up excuses. I wasn't meant to miss the rapture. I was meant to be taken away with the rest of them, and it's terrible because those left behind is trouble from now. It's disaster. You don't want to be left behind. So the point is that's why he couldn't accept the fact that he was at fault for being left behind, but he was. You see, but pride blinds. You see, pride blinds, and he was making excuses. He was, you remember when he went, you didn't know when I was 6, my parents died. Blah blah blah. Yeah, you didn't know what I've been through. That's why it was easy for me to give into fame when it came about, etc., etc. So he was making all of these excuses, but the therapist did a great job at breaking them all down and saying, no. It was you, no excuse. It was you. And at the end, it was kind of like, bam, he realized it's him. And that is the breakdown, that he realized it's his fault. There's no reverse. There's nothing he can do about it. It's a living nightmare. This is the reality he has to live with now. So that's why as he was walking, you saw him stop and look at a cross at a church and just start crying, and then having the voice of Pastor Chris in the back, what shall it profit a man if he shall gain the whole world but lose his own soul, which is exactly what you're talking about as well, Lauren, Um, and yeah, he does it. Then the car comes, bam, and turns out it was all a dream. But that's how he wakes up of this living terror. He wakes up, and this dream, this thing, is what made him realize, I've got to change immediately. So, he picked up the call at the bed, and his friend was like, "We're going to Miami." They were now rich, modeling, this, that. We're going to Miami, bro. He said, "Nah, no, tomorrow is, time for God. That's Sunday service. That's the only place I want to be now." Complete change.
Sorry,
Because
can you
that
go back
dream.
a bit? Can you go back a bit? Because I didn't, when you said it was all a dream, where did the dream start? Can you pinpoint exactly where the dream starts? Because now when you're saying they're all rich, everyone is rich and they want to go to Miami and everything, how could they be if it was all a dream? This is where I got a little bit confused. So can you explain that bit?
So no, it's not they're all rich. Is that you know it's interesting. The film is kind of ambiguous in that way, and I don't know if it's intentional or unintentional, but in the sense that it's up to the viewer to basically decide when the dream started. But the dream was there because he woke up from it, you know. So when he was out, when he was hit by the car, he was dreaming. When he was in the therapy session, he was dreaming, you know. So, but he woke up. He was still in that he was still a model, well-known personality, rich, and obviously because if he is, he'll help his friends, come up with him. So that's why his friend was calling him up like, "We're supposed to be going to Miami, bro. There's a huge party going on." But now, he's, you see. So the first scene, where he missed the rapture, he was also dreaming. Even then, he was also dreaming. So that's an interesting journey, It was a dream because when he returns to church is before the rapture. So now he has time to amend things. I hope I'm explaining this well and you're understanding what I'm saying,
Did you see what I just put there underneath? The
The way,
awakening.
yeah.
That is exactly, again, Course in Miracles explains it exactly the same way. Everything is a dream except love. It's like everything was created, like the ego created this massive dream. And when you get your spiritual awakening, when you get to such a level, you can watch from above. It's like you're watching everything happen. Like the best way to watch the way the world is at the moment is step back and just watch. Just watch how everything is collapsing. Watch how the dominoes are all going whoosh, 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 whoosh. Watch like you watch a theater, like you watch a show, because it's not real. It's all a dream. We're waking up. You're waking up. You're waking up. And it's exactly everything you're saying is so synchronistic to the way the world is. If people don't wake up, they can't make it. They won't make it because the evil is too strong at the moment, and it's there. We all know it's there. So it's the whole of that film is so symbolic of the way that we're living. So whoever the script writer, I'd love to interview the whole crew, especially your mates, the two guys. But whoever wrote the script, they were writing exactly what we're going through in the human race at the moment. Look at it as if it's a dream. It's a bit like, are you awake or are you asleep? When you're dreaming, are you awake or are you asleep? It doesn't matter. If it's not love, if it doesn't make you feel good inside, I'm not saying you have to be happy all the time with a smile on your face, but you have to know that you're going to come through this. In the therapeutic community, they used to say to us, put the clock on for 20 minutes, have a good cry, and get it all out, get all your pain out, and then get back to doing the washing up, Lauren. Martin's going to laugh about that when it comes to me doing the washing up. They knew. They always stuck me doing the washing up because it grounded me. But the point I'm saying this is, I've lost my train of thought, is that you have to be able to move past it. That's exactly what I meant. When you're seeing things from above, you're looking at Lauren, for example, in her little ego yesterday. Oh my God, I got no views, and they've taken all my views away and they've hacked me. That's the ego. That's fear. And the ego is dying. You have to let it die. And the more the ego is dying, the more you're going to fight. You're going to fight the ego dying. Yeah. And that's why you have to wake up like Daniel did, like whoosh, that huge awakening. Because it's, again, the way I explain to people about this, the way the world is, imagine a boil on your finger, for example. It's come to the point where it's like that now, right? It's going to go, and that's what's happening. And the minute you get that, and you're all over the place, that's the woo. That's it. That's the rapture you talk about. You see, when you talk about the rapture, to me, every single person will have the rapture in the right moment for them, divine timing. Because if they can't, they're not ready. How can you be ready? You've got to be ready to have that awakening. So we're on here. You've had your awakening. I've had my awakenings. I'm having them every single day, every day. Whenever something happens to me, I see Lauren in her ego. I see how much she struggles. I see how it's all breaking down. But the moving on TV is sacred. Moving on TV is love. Lauren, the CEO, is not Lauren, the little Lauren, the identity Lauren. This Lauren, the CEO, is something else. She's a starseed. She works for God. She works for love. So Lauren has to come back on here. The ego breaks down. If the ego didn't break down, I couldn't come on here. I'd be crying and screaming. I did come on. Lauren came on here and showed her pain, but that's okay. Daniel showed his pain. You see, that's another thing. Boys don't cry. Anyone who says boys don't cry and brings up a boy to not cry, they are destroying their mind, their body, their everything. They're destroying their health. Jesus had anger, and Jesus cried, and he screamed, and he went to the desert for 40 years. So if you're looking at the highest mentor of all, the highest teacher, who was Jesus, and he cried and had a temper, how can you expect not to go through these stages yourself before you have the rapture? You call it the rapture, we call it the awakening. So we're on the same page. It doesn't matter that I'm not exactly on the same page as you. We all are good people, and we love ourselves, and we love humanity. And we cannot harm a human or an animal. And that's enough. Because if you weren't coming from God, you would be harming everything in your way. So, but this is a great film, and I recommend everybody goes on it. So it's on Alpha, and is there any other way to watch it? Because, you know, why can't we have it on Moving on TV? The beauty of it as well, and please pass this on to the script writer, and what's his name?
I've never actually met him.
Okay, well, if you can, there's no swearing, and there's no reason whatsoever that this could not go on Moving on TV. No reason whatsoever, because it's completely, this is the beauty of it. The only people, like, we've got a new young presenter, Luke Histon. He's 19 years of age, and he comes on here and he says to me, Lauren, there's only love and fear. That's what I mean. And then we've got Ethan Sykes. I put a message on Instagram to say, what's to this and what's to this and what's a test. I said, I must be living in another dimension, because all I know is love, peace, dancing and singing. And he gave me a like. And he's one of our presenters. You see, we are attracting love. We're also attracting the other. But the other is coming because it needs to break down. But wouldn't it be a miracle if young Andy I'm not going to call him what he is, but young Andy was able to come on to Moving On TV and say, I'm sorry, Lauren, and I'm going to do something nice. But the problem is that maybe he can't do that because he doesn't know the difference. And as you said, because they did a good job on young people from the time you were born. So I want to go back before we go on to how we can get the film and ask the director, can we have it on Moving On TV?
I will.
The huge amount of respect, and because a lot of people don't want Alpha. Alpha is basically where have you gone? It's a Greek company.
Oh no, sorry. So Alpha is a Greek company, and then there's Alpha TV. I know it can be confusing. It confused me at
Oh,
first.
okay.
No.
Because I was
When
wondering that
when I was searching, Alpha is what comes up first, so it confused me as well. So, but then you scroll down, Alpha TV is the correct one. Just
Okay,
Alpha TV. Yeah.
okay. Because I kept thinking, where are the Greek subtitles?
Yeah.
If this is a Greek TV station, they're going to want subtitles. So,
Yeah.
but okay, so what I would love to be able to do is to put that film on regularly, all the time, just so people can watch it and they can see the message that it's giving to young people. So I want to go back now to before Manuel, had your awakening, when you were lucky because Vlad was your godfather and he got you into the good. But tell us a little bit about Manuel when he wasn't such a nice person. Are you able to do that? Because I
Yes.
want
Definitely.
you, because that's why I bring you on, because of these young people that I feel could benefit and they could have a better life, because one day they'll have to face the maker. It doesn't matter. You're 19, you're 20. You're not going to think that way. No one thinks about dying. But maybe now, maybe you do more. It could happen sooner than later. I'm not saying anything. We could, people could die sooner than later because of the way the world is. But one day you will have to sit with you. You will. And I have no doubt about it. Every single human being one day has to sit and look at themselves in the mirror, because the world is going like that. A huge amount of love is coming in. And because love is coming in, the other has to go. There's no way. Love is getting too strong. Love and light is getting too strong. One day you're going to have to sit there and you're going to say, you know what? I don't like myself very much. Or I can't do this. I don't want to die. I've taken, it could be after you had a binging, drinking or drugs, and you literally will be on your deathbed. You know, Casey Armstrong, who has me in the book, he was on his knees where he was into everything, and he tells everyone drinking and drugs. And one day he was on the street and he got stabbed because he was completely lost and he was on the street and his life was saved. He was stabbed so badly that he shouldn't have lived. And that was when the thorn was pulled out of his paw, so to speak. And he had his awakening and he went on to do WMAP radio, World Most Amazing People, and he found me, and he's on that vibration of doing things for others because his life was saved. So I am saying to you, Casey Armstrong was a celebrity. He used to be with the Howard Stern shows. You could check him out. He was corrupt. He not corrupt. He was into drugs and drinking, and his life was a mess. And he became homeless. He lost his everything, and that's when he got stabbed a few times, and he didn't die. And so he woke up in the hospital, and he made a vow to do good. Now, Andy, what would have to happen to you before you would stop bullying and doing racial stuff and all of this stuff? What would happen? What would have to happen? Because I want to know now. Let's take you, Manuel, at 18 years, 17, 16, 17, 18 years old, if you can. That is these people that might be watching that are bullying us. How were you, and how did you get to such a level of self-hatred? Because that's all it is, self-hatred. You don't love yourself. They've come on here and they said, nobody gives me anything. Why should I care? I know they're angry. These young kids are angry, and I don't blame them. I understand why they're angry because no one gives you anything. If
Mm.
you haven't had the love, then I had no love, and I was angry. But I'm learning. It's all about you. Gotta love yourself first, okay?
Mhm.
So I want you to talk about Emmanuel before Vlad took you to church that day. Okay, so I'm going to shut up. But I love this because it's all coming together. Show this interview to whoever did that film because they have the honor of putting that film on here. And then maybe people who don't understand the difference between making a film that is full of honor and full of discipline and no bad language and nothing derogative about anybody will understand the difference because again, if I refer to the therapeutic community, we all went in there with our issues and we all triggered everyone, triggered each other. You cannot, they said to me, Lauren, you come in here with your bombs, your bombs, and you throw them in, all your bombs and your guns, everything you learned as a child, and everybody runs out crying. They said, you need to be on the stage, Lauren. You've got this magnetism. There's something about you. But at that point, I didn't understand what they meant. What do you mean I come in here? Because that's all I knew. That was my life. It was all fighting, non-stop fighting. That's all we ever did. When Martin and I met, it was a shock for him. He came from a calm background with peace and love. And then this crazy Israeli comes into his life and it's all fights because that's all I knew. So what I'm saying is you cannot learn anything and change, Andy. And yes, I'm giving you publicity, but I'm giving you publicity because I want you to become a good person. Yeah? So you can't show this to anyone where I am glorifying your work. I'm glorifying your talents. He's an incredibly talented man. He can do any accent. Incredibly. He can't sing, but he's an incredible actor. He did all these accents for me because he wanted me to put him on moving on TV. But what I'm saying is, until someone says to you, there's a better way, you don't know. So Vlad was there for you, Manuel. I'm going to shut up now because the synchronicity is so powerful. I love it. It's like, thank you so much for what happened yesterday so we could do this interview.
Wow, thank you. Yeah, wow, this has been great, you know. So first of all, when I was 16, 17, 18, those were probably the worst years of how I was as a person in life. I'm 22 now, 22 years old. And then I was the worst in my life then. I'm talking about the way I behaved, the way my personality was, the way my values were. It was the worst, you know. I was yeah.
Sorry, can you tell us the worst thing you did? I mean,
Yeah, definitely. Of
worse
course.
than Mike in Encounters or Sam? Okay.
No problem, you know. I was let me start counting, you know, and then maybe this thing will come up. Uh I was full of I was living for pleasure. That's number one, you know. Trying to fit in with my friends in school, trying to be cool. I was in sixth form then, you know, after secondary school in sixth form, 17, 16, 17, even 18, and then 19, I went to university first year. You know, so in order to be cool and appear cool to my friends, I would do anything. Started smoking cigarettes, started smoking weed. You know, I would probably even do cocaine under the right circumstances, but thank God I never did. You know, it just stopped at smoking weed. One time I passed out, you know, because the weed was laced with something else. I saw red, you know, I passed out on the floor. I could have died. Who knows what some people put in those things. Um, yeah, it's just um, I went to, you know, my life was fully focused on yeah, just climbing the social ladder in school, trying to get girls. I was full of lust, you know. I was just trying to get laid as well because there was tremendous pressure at that time. And there is, for young people, there's a tremendous pressure for losing your virginity because it's considered uncool and unfashionable to be a virgin. Uh, so at that time, I completely gave into that pressure and gladly at so. Um, it was ridiculous. At home, I was non existent. I was completely disrespectful to my mother, to my parents. I came home at 4, 5 a.m., sometimes even on school days, going out to smoke weed after school, going out to parties, not telling my mum, who was worried sick about me, where I am to calm her down. I hated my mum for a long while because when I was younger, she used to. Be overprotective and controlling and restricting in my decisions. So I got really bitter and resentful and I let it take charge of me. So I was really disrespectful. I was insulting towards her. I've even fought her physically and abused her that way. Not too much, but it's gotten bad sometimes. And it was just terrible. I wouldn't speak at home. I would just be in my room playing video games. That was my escape in reality, of from reality when I was at home. So it was ridiculous. I started being addicted to pornography, to sexual, just masturbation, everything. I started being addicted to smoking, cigarettes, you know, and it was just bad. I was a very and I lost my values that I grew up in. I grew up in a Christian family, son of a pastor in Bulgaria. Then we came to England. I just gave up well, I still retain my faith in God and in Jesus Christ, but I gave up all the rest of the values, with the smoking, with the drinking, with the doing whatever you do to get laid and
I'll
just.
stop you there, Emmanuel. Sorry, sweetheart. Thank you for your honesty. This is incredible. I'm so proud of you and I'm so humble. But what you talked about, this is again, I'm very interested in helping anyone who may be watching. You talked about peer pressure. You said that that was one of the reasons, the peer pressure to have girls, the peer pressure to fit in. Was there anything else at all that young people like yourself felt that they needed to live up to while this was happening to you? Was there any other pressures that you felt that you could actually say here on here? Because this is incredible. This is such an open soul experience. I'm very, very, very grateful for you doing this because you don't know who's watching. We don't know who will watch this. This will go on and on and on. Don't worry. Even if I have to cut the bit of you talking about the way you were as a young teenager and how you are now, it's just such an incredible shift. But what else do you think caused that? Because you said you came from a good background, so you can't say it's your parents' fault. What bothered you about your mom? Because what she was obviously your mirror. She was bouncing everything, reflecting back onto you something. Hi, Cara. Cara's saying hi.
Hello.
Cara is lovely. She's always there for us. We love our Cara all the way from Ireland. Yeah. She says hi, Manuel. So your mom was your reflection because she made you angry. What was it about your mom? Because a lot of teenagers don't get on with their parents a lot, but actually boys get on better with their moms usually. It's
Usually.
interesting. What was it? What did she do that really pushed you? What was that trigger? Because again, that's what I'm interested in. I'm interested in why people go off the rails with all the pressures. But what was it about your mother? And how was it with your dad? And did you have siblings? So go into that a little bit more because this is such an incredible interview and it would never have happened if we wouldn't have had the bullying. So thank you, Andy. You are a gift from heaven and Rick Productions. Thank
Yeah.
you.
So I'll say this and I'll say it in a summarized manner because I have work in a bit, so I have to go in like 5 to 10 minutes. But anyways, thank you so much, Lauren. Um, this has been a wonderful interview as well. I hope it could go on longer. Next time we can definitely schedule that if you want. But yeah, so I'll say this in a summarized way. Like I said, when I was younger, my mom would she wanted the best for me, but the reason why, as a young teenager, I allowed myself to become very bitter, very resentful towards her, to the stage where I reacted in such ways, is because when I was younger, she tended to be overprotective, over caring, overbearing, and imposing what she believed was best for me on me against my will. For example, she got me to play piano, but I never really wanted to play piano, so I ended up playing piano for 9 years. For 9 whole years, went to competitions, everything. But the thing is, when I was forced to play piano, I hated it. I hated it. If it wasn't for her, I would have never chosen to play piano. And that was one. It's like some of those things that you're forced to do against your will, or So when I was a teenager, and it was many things, not just that. That's just one example. So when I was a teenager, all of this built up like uh, uh, resent, bitterness, hatred, and unforgiveness. That's what it was. I kept it without knowing I kept it, but it's because I was going through a tough time myself. I was going through depression myself without realizing, because I was so young as a teenager. You don't have that self awareness and mental capacity to understand yourself and what you're going through. So I did not like myself then. I did not love myself then. I did not know how to, and I was going through depression without realizing it. So of course, if I can't love myself, how am I meant to be forgiven and love others? It can't work. So that's why I held on to, I feel all of that bitterness and resentment towards her. But throughout the years, I've let go, forgiven, and changed in that way. Praise God. But that's the reason. So yeah, what was the turning point for me was my mom was praying for me. That's really what changed it. She prayed for me for years and years and took hands off. And by prayer, I don't mean religiously, like she did this and she recited some religious thing that means nothing and I'm deriving meaning from it. No, I mean she cried to God on my behalf for him to work in me. And what happened was, the result was miraculous. I started changing. It made no sense to the people around me. Vladimir can testify, his daughters can testify. It made no sense to the logical mind of people seeing when I was 18 and 19 and 20. It made no sense how I just suddenly started shifting and changing into a different person. Like I started being more forgiving and letting go and doing this, and it's like no effort on my part. It was just happening, you know, and and it was all a result of her prayers, because God answers prayers. So blessed is he who has someone praying for them. So that's how
Love.
I would summarize it.
It's love,
Unfortunately,
Emmanuel.
I would have
Just very
just
quickly, Alpha TV is where I'm not going to push that because I want the film. Because I think you need to pay something like £15 a month to
yes.
join.
Oh, yeah.
That's
So, Lauren, for that, I can talk to the director and definitely see to try to get the film on. That'd be
I think it'd
beautiful.
be incredible. And we would do a deal. It's not going to be £15 a month, guys, because I know people need to see it. You
Yes.
need to see this film, especially if you're struggling. And you heard Emmanuel today. If that, I don't know. Obviously something was meant to happen here, and it's called love. And it's made me think about the actions I wanted to take against these bullies. I don't feel it anymore. I feel grateful for what happened. I feel that there's got to be another way. Rather than making their life worse, we've
Mm.
got to think about it. Anyway, thank you so much, Manuel.
Thank you
I
so
talked to
much.
you before Christmas and New Year, and I can't believe it's nearly a year since we did Baby It's Cold Outside.
Wow.
Kara's saying goodbye, and I'm honored to have had you on here today. And
Thank you so much.
praise
It's been
God,
amazing.
you know, that I can bring on someone who has a similar story. Tell your guys, the guys in the church that had that awakening. There must be loads of young people out there from who have done similar, that have changed their lives around. Bring them on, bring their stories. If we can help one human, then I've done my job.
Mm.
That's it. And we're not preaching to you guys. As you saw, Emmanuel told you it was his mum's love. Nothing to
Yeah.
do with religion. His mum loved him enough to go down on her knees and pray that Emmanuel could have a better life. That's it. And maybe that's the problem. Maybe you don't feel loved by your family or your parents. But I won't go there because we've got to finish the interview. But thank you so much. And Kara's saying lots of love. And I'm
Thank
so
you so
grateful for
much.
this interview. Can't wait to get it out there. And I'm going to divide it up into two because it's necessary.
So
Part one and part two.
I'll get back
Okay.
to you for the film, and we'll talk more. Thank you so much for
We
today.
will.
Wonderful.
Definitely. Lots of love. And I'll speak to you before Christmas. Bye,
Bye
sweetheart.
bye. Take care. Much love. Bye bye.
Bye. Bye. Okay. So I'm going to end there. I'm going to end the stream because that was powerful. So if you want more from Moving On TV, please subscribe to Moving On TV on YouTube, on Twitter, on all the social medias. We're Moving On TV Mental Health, and Emmanuel explained to you his depression. I am going to. Hello there, Hasnain Zafar. Somebody just subscribed. Thank you so much. If we can help one person to come into love, self-love, and as I said, don't push religion, and you could see the difference. I was not preaching, and the film, you don't have to, it's got nothing to do with religion. It's the story of a young man. Yeah, it is got religion in there because he chose Christianity. I don't. I believe the word Christian means the Christ. The Christ means the anointed. The anointed means the love that you have for yourself and others. Light, anointment. It just means that you are special and unique. And so I am not going to go forward with the plan I had for the people that heard Moving On TV yesterday, or Rick Productions. I'm going to back down. I'm not going to talk to them because they can't talk to me because they don't get me. All right. So the only way I could talk to them is through someone. Thank you, Kara, for your message yesterday. Because I'm not going to take action against these people. I do not want them to be miserable at Christmas. I do not want to hurt anyone. I want them to learn. That's all. I want them to understand the difference between love and kindness and compassion for humans and themselves. And maybe by watching Emmanuel and his story, they'll understand because he's only 21 and they're only in their early 20s as well, some of them. But whoever came on here and did what they did yesterday, you gave me the best interview of my life. Yeah. I'm putting myself first. I'm not having anything to do with it till after Christmas, but I want you to have a Christmas. Rick Productions and Andy, please just go somewhere on your own, maybe sit in nature and think about why you need to bully Moving On TV, why you need to hurt people, why you need to put out stuff to get likes. Watch what really matters if you can on Alpha TV. If you can, it costs £15 a month. That's a lot of money. I wouldn't. I watched it because Emmanuel gave it to me. I will try to get it on Moving On TV. I'm not preaching religion to you. I'm just asking you to go out there and have a better life. Have a better life. You don't need the likes. I've got 4 people watching, 6 people watching. It doesn't matter. Because if it changes one life, I've always felt this. When I did the children's peace song, Cara, with 1,000 kids, and I taught them a song about peace, when I went into the mosque and I taught the kids, the Muslim children, a song in Hebrew, and I made a film, I never really cared what happened to that film, except that there was a little Israeli child on there saying to a Palestinian, be my friend. Tihiyeh li chaver. That's all I cared about. And it was my job to put that out there, because no one in this world, well, there are people, but no one would have done it the way I did it. No one. I'm proud to be me. I'm proud to be me, and I'm proud to be running Moving on TV. And as I said, the angels that were Cara's on here, now Emanuel's on here. And Emanuel and I, it's great that we could talk about the rapture, the awakening, without bringing the Christian side into it. It's bloody painful what we're going through, and we're all in this together. So stop bullying yourself. Trust that there is some things. You are loved. You are loved. Okay? You are loved. You are loved. I don't know if you have a parent that loves you. You just love you. That's it. As I say, I am not going to go out there and bully and destroy Carl's life and Martin Berry or Andy. I have no passion to do that. Yesterday I did, because I was really, really upset, and they have no right to do this to anyone. But I'm different. I'm different. I don't go out there to destroy lives. I go out there to wake people up, to stick a rocket up you to wake you up. I've always been like that. And that's why people a lot of the time didn't like me, because they were scared of me. Hello, Hasnain. He's from Malaysia, Cara. We've got someone from Malaysia who just subscribed. Thank you so much. Lots of love. I'm the person, the soul, the spirit that sticks a rocket up you and tells you to sort your life out, to come into the light in any way that you find that helps you and helps humanity. Don't get to the level where you are broken or you're nearly dead on the street like Casey Armstrong. If you want to actually, what I will do is I will read you something. I'll read you the foreword of Simply Amazing. If you don't believe me, Casey Armstrong's story. Just a second. Let me get a book. Okay. Casey Armstrong was into everything. And as I say, he lay homeless on the streets. No, Cara. If it wasn't for them, I wouldn't have had that interview. It wouldn't have worked. Believe me, a lot happened yesterday. I'm very grateful. I'm not getting into anything, but I am saying to them that everybody deserves a chance in life, right? And I'm going to read you the opening to Casey's book, because he was in the same situation. I just want to read the bit where he talks about his own life. Okay, you can get the book from me or from Paul McDonald at the Positivity Center. The book has got 11 amazing stories in here. Okay. Okay, so I want just very quickly the foreword to his book. He had people in tears. Okay. There is a lesson here somewhere. My conclusion was that it can always be worse. I was homeless. He was homeless. He had lost everything. He was on the streets. But I was homeless in Southern California. As you may know, in Southern California, it's just around 70 degrees every day and it rains. It never rains in Southern California. You know that song? Back in New York, when I used to walk to the deli at 5 a.m. to get Howard Stern's breakfast, I would see homeless people sleeping on the subway where the warm air came through and wondered how anyone could have the mental toughness to live that way. I remember asking one of the guys a question one morning. Immediately, the gentleman told me I had to be quiet because the mothership in his navel was about to release the sulfur oxide onto his beard, and his appointment with Liberace was cancelled due to his letter of his pet lizard wrote to his uncle back when seagulls control Parliament. True story. Parliament. See, that's how the journey for me for this book began. Obviously, that homeless man was mentally ill, and so was I. Yet we both have a story to tell. I was just fortunate to be able to have a platform to tell mine. In all honesty, I believe everyone has a story to tell if you're willing to listen. No one can truly say that one story is more valid than the other. We all look at the world through different pairs of eyes. It's funny. I believe I may have learned this whole concept from Howard. You could be a dwarf, a hooker, a member of the mob, or run through the streets of New York wearing nothing but high heels. And still, we all have feelings, experiences, challenges, and a story to share. Negativity and destruction can come from the outside, like an accident, an act of war, or cruelty from others, or from the inside, like being a coward. That was my poison. I could never understand why victories and successes were empty and unfulfilling, and how it was easier and somehow a compromise to the ones I loved to slowly drink myself to death. The problem with life, and most anything really, is if you want something bad enough, you're probably going to get it. I have been admitted to hospital over 40 times. You don't want to get to this level. I have been admitted to hospital over 40 times. It all began with a few mini bottles of vodka at night, just to loosen up and relax. This relaxation slowly transformed into a death sentence. He's now got a pancreas that doesn't work anymore. I have always struggled with severe depression. I would find ways to self-medicate, would use relationships with women to replace the sadness and emptiness I felt inside. I would use alcohol in the same way. Again, even though I was fortunate, there was this ungrateful monster that wouldn't go away. My medication didn't help, and talking about what was wrong helped even less. The problem was I couldn't quite tell you what was wrong. All I knew was there was nothing that made me feel proud of anything, nor did I have any sense of true accomplishment. Here you are, guys. This is what Andy needs to hear. When I was young, I believed that if I was famous, all of my problems would be over. I grew up to find out quite the opposite. Casey Armstrong was famous. Check him out. He had it all. Right? If you're looking for fame and fortune, read his story. He had it all. As soon as I began working for Howard Stern, it dawned on me that I worked for someone that was famous, had lots of fans, and he made me part of his show. It got into my head. I was being asked to take pictures with fans, sign autographs, do appearances. It was great. But it began to dawn on me that although it was getting this special treatment and attention, the attention was because of Howard Stern, not because of Casey Armstrong. It began to make me feel strange. I remember an appearance I did in Chicago. I was signing 10 headshots. I looked up and saw a line of people wrapped around the room, thought to myself, why the hell would anyone want this picture of me besides my mom? From then on, celebrity appearances began to make me feel like I was this guy with a huge ego. So you get the fame, you're not happy, you're still drinking, you end up on the streets with a knife in your back, yeah? And you nearly die. Yeah, depression is a spiritual awakening. Thank you, Cara. Beautiful. So Casey ended up on the street and he nearly died with a knife. with knife in his back, okay? So he's saying here, I sucked down 6 shot bottles of vodka, then walked to an interview, and never once was my speech slurred. Drinking like that made me feel human. Eventually, my drinking progressed to a ridiculous amount. Throughout the day, I would finish 4 to 7 pints of straight vodka. Can you imagine? Early on, I was deceived by my drinking. I was in such good shape. It took around 3 years for the daily drinking to start to take its toll on my body. One morning, I wound up with a pain in my stomach that ended up persisting for days. I had to be rushed to ER. Do you really want that, guys, for your life? Well, here's the pinnacle of it. Acute pancreatitis. Yeah? You can't live without medication now for it. Excruciating pain. Hospitals. You're 20 years old. You don't want to be in hospital with pain and suffering. And then homelessness. Okay? The last birthday, I'm ashamed to say the pain was so severe, I no longer prayed for it to stop. I prayed to die. That's the day I'll never forget. Okay? I have broken ribs, dozens of concussions, been stabbed, tased, and bear sprayed. So I know a bit about pain. This was something different. I pray nobody ever feels pain like that. I've nobody to blame but me. I beat the shit out of myself mentally, physically, and spiritually to a point where it's hard to ever forgive myself. I've never heard a voice inside my head say, leave that guy alone. He's not that bad. How much more do you expect him to take? I only felt disgust, shame, rage, hatred, and disappointment every day, every hour. That is the best explanation of why I drank, knowing it was killing me. Okay? That was it. Drugs, alcohol. You gotta read this, guys. I'm not going to read it to you now because I'm tired. I reel bits of it to you. This story you will identify with more than my story. So Casey Armstrong nearly died from all of this. His body gave up. He was stabbed so many times. But he came through. WMAP radio, he came through. You too can come through. Andy, Carl, watch this interview. I'm going to go now because I've got to edit it. I love you lots. Trust that everything is happening for a reason. Trust, stay sane today. And trust that number 80 today, stay sane daily. Everything is happening for a reason. I love you lots. Bye.